Costing with Solutions 8, and I want to go over some of the new stuff that Google just launched. Some of it's really exciting. Some of it not quite as exciting. So one of the things that's really interesting is Google's being very proactive in making strong attempts at helping small businesses adjust for the pandemic, which I appreciate. And I think a lot of their advice is really sound. Some of it, though, I don't know that I necessarily agree with. So the very first thing here is Google's, now this has been a drum that they've been beating forever. And I mean, that means like 6 months in internet time, but pair broad match keywords with smart bidding. This will work someday, and I know it'll work someday because it's working in smart shopping. So I've seen Google make this function elsewhere, but inside of search right now, I just feel like this is it's to be approached with a healthy degree of trepidation. Now, it can absolutely work, especially if you have like a very linear sales process, really ultra specific products. The search intent for your product is easy to identify, but that's not everybody. Like emergency plumber near me, bam, easy. But something a little bit more expansive or nebulous, even like tax attorney, for instance. There's a lot of layers there, and potential specialty requirements or whatever. So all I'm saying is, don't not try this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to continue just to revisit it because I want to see how good Google's getting. Someday they are going to make this work, and it's going to be gangbusters. And I actually think it's going to hurt a lot of the lower value PPC agencies because they're not going to know how to up level their value elsewhere outside of just making adjustments to bidding. So interesting advice coming out. Nothing new. What I think is really interesting, though, and what I'm really excited about is, so Google stole lead form extensions basically from Facebook. Facebook had Facebook lead forms, and what they would do is inside of the Facebook newsfeed, if you see an ad, you can click on the ad and then it opens up the form. And what was even cooler is Facebook would pre-populate it with information that was already loaded into that Facebook's user profile, which may be good or bad depending on your use case. But really intelligent approach. Google took, I think, a couple of years before they rolled out their own, but they finally did. Currently available inside of Search, YouTube, and Discovery. But they said later this year they're rolling it out across display, which I actually think is going to be maybe the most effective medium for this type of conversion form. Because, search specifically, you already have such a high commercial intent prospect if you're bidding correctly. You almost want them to go to the page because there's more of the user engagement that you get to manage and view and optimize against. So, it ends up being almost too valuable a session to just throw a lead form in front of them. But with display, we're talking about impulse buy type, psychological approach. And if you have a really solid display campaign, it might be just as easy to get somebody to fill out a form as it would be to get them over to your page and have them spend some time. So really excited to see this roll out. And Google's usually really good with timelines. So if they say later this year, then it means they're already in beta and they're about ready to let it drop. The thing that I'm most excited about, though, this is going to be an absolute game changer. So what Google's doing is they're allowing you to import offline conversions without a GCLID, which is huge. So generally, prior to this anyway, you would have to have the GCLID, which is the Google Click ID. It's kind of like the thumbprint for every paid ad click. And if you had user contact information and you had the GCLID, you could import those offline conversions using the GCLID and tell Google basically like, hey, by the way, this click resulted in something. This is really good for phone calls if you do a lot of phone leads. And live chat is another good example too. Sometimes live chat is a little more difficult to track, or you don't necessarily want to track every chat that fires because not every chat that fires results in a lead. And so for us, for my agency, phone calls we manually import and live chat we manually import. But if for whatever reason the GCLID isn't available, which can happen for different reasons, lose tracking, you're not able to track the session ID all the way through, things that I'm not smart enough to understand. But and not in every instance do you have the GCLID, and even when you do, it's a little bit tedious to set up systems that are capturing that alongside all the other information and then make sure that it's getting ported back in. So now what you can do, and it's not out. They said look for this feature roll out later this year. But again, they're really good at timelines. So to be able to just import user data into your form, I think is going to be an absolute game changer because hopefully, and we'll have to see how it works. But you can be proactive with this. So if you start, like we deal with Montessori schools, I have a small sub-agency. It's a passion project where we help Montessori schools grow. And I think this could be really important for Montessori schools, because what they might be able to do is take everybody who's enrolled this year and pipe them into Google Ads, just saying, hey, just so you know, here are all the people that we have. And then Google could potentially take that list and match it against anybody who's clicked on their ads if they can identify those folks. Now, I don't know if they're going to let us be, treat it like, that much of a sandbox. But if they do, it could be of significant value, especially to brick and mortar retailers, preschools, that type of thing. So if you have any offline conversions, this is an absolute game changer. The other thing that I think is super cool, I don't know if this is new, by the way, if it's new to me, but Zapier apparently has the ability to import offline conversions directly from your CRM, which, again, if that's not new, it's news to me. It sounds, again, amazing, because it's going to save a massive amount of time. We import all of our conversions manually. We do it by hand. And there's some positive notes to that, because it just means that we're able to review all the data and make sure that it's been properly massaged and you have everything appended to it that you need appended to it. But being able to streamline it, especially for our clients, is going to be pretty cool. And what's even cooler is, Zapier works with every CRM I've ever tried to work with. So this is not an exhaustive list. Zapier uses, it's really robust. And has integrations with, some smaller systems. So regardless of the system that you're on, you should be able to push your conversion data into Google Ads. And where this is referencing the GCLID, this should no longer end up being a requirement as soon as this new feature rolls out. So keep an eye on that. That's going to be a really significant value. And I'm also going to be really interested to see Google's talking about, where did it go? Their collaboration with Zapier and just additional integration opportunities that come out. That'll be a big deal too. The more accessible they make some of the data, and then not just from a poll perspective, but like the Zapier thing's a push. The more we're able to allow other utilities from a business perspective to influence our Google Ads campaign, that I think the better we're going to be at responding quickly and improving campaigns, and not just in a silo, but kind of an omni-channel environment. So that was it for this article. A couple of really cool things, and then some stuff that I just didn't understand, to be honest with you. Like, they came out and said that with customer match, you can now create similar audiences based on customer match lists. We've always been able to create similar audiences based on customer match lists. So don't know what's going on here, or maybe I'm misunderstanding something. But similar audiences have been around, and maybe there's an improvement here that I'm not catching, or a nuance. If you know more than I do, or if I'm missing something, please drop it in the comments. I'd be really interested in your take. This is kind of cool, the fact that match rates have improved. That lets me think that maybe their data is going to get a little bit more focused and specific, and they're not just doing kind of the broad reach. Anyway, if you're enjoying the videos, please subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers so I can start going live. If you like what I had to say, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, just don't do anything. And I respond to all comments personally. Would love to chat with you. We run a Google Ads agency, and I will give you an action plan free of cost if you have any interest in just having us take a look at what it is that you're currently doing. And if you're not doing anything, if you've never run Google, then we'll do projections and estimates for what we think your campaign could do, which is something that I'd be happy to help you with. So reach out if you need help. Otherwise, I'll see you in tomorrow's video.